The Second World War was a global conflict that engulfed the world from 1939 to 1945. It involved more than 30 countries and resulted in significant geopolitical changes. The war began with the invasion of Poland by Nazi Germany, which led Britain and France to declare war on Germany. Over the next 6 years, the conflict would spread across Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Pacific, drawing in nations from every corner of the globe. It was the deadliest war in human history, with an estimated 40 to 85 million fatalities. These casualties included not only soldiers but also civilians, who suffered immensely due to bombings, massacres, and genocides. The war's brutality was unprecedented, with entire cities being leveled and populations decimated. The war was fought across multiple continents and oceans, involving the vast majority of the world's nations. Major battles took place in Europe, North Africa, and the Pacific, with significant naval engagements in the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. The conflict saw the use of advanced military technology, including tanks, aircraft, and submarines, which changed the nature of warfare forever. The war had a profound impact on the course of the 20th century, leading to the decline of European empires, the rise of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers, and the formation of the United Nations. The geopolitical landscape was forever altered, with new alliances forming and old ones dissolving. The aftermath of the war also saw the beginning of the Cold War, a period of intense rivalry between the US and the Soviet Union. The conflict also witnessed unprecedented atrocities, including the Holocaust and the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Holocaust resulted in the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, along with millions of others deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime. The atomic bombings brought about the end of the war in the Pacific, but at a tremendous human cost, with hundreds of thousands of civilians killed or injured. The Second World War was a complex and multifaceted event with far-reaching consequences. It reshaped national borders, economies, and societies. The strategies and decisions made by wartime leaders continue to be studied for their impact on the course of history. Its causes and consequences continue to be debated by historians to this day. The war's legacy is evident in the numerous memorials, museums, and educational programs dedicated to preserving its history and lessons for future generations. The seeds of World War II were sown in the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, which officially ended the war in 1919, imposed harsh penalties on Germany. Germany was forced to accept responsibility for the war, cede territories, disarm its military, and pay heavy reparations. These punitive measures created resentment and instability in Germany. The German economy was crippled by reparations payments, leading to hyperinflation and widespread unemployment. The loss of territory and national pride further fueled German nationalism and resentment towards the victorious Allied powers. The Treaty of Versailles is widely seen as a flawed peace treaty that contributed to the outbreak of World War II. It failed to address the underlying causes of World War I and created conditions that made another war more likely. The interwar period witnessed the rise of totalitarian regimes in Europe and Asia. This era, marked by economic turmoil and political instability, created fertile ground for radical ideologies to take root. As nations struggled to recover from the devastation of World War I, charismatic leaders emerged, promising solutions to their country's woes. In Germany, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party exploited widespread economic hardship and political instability to seize power in 1933. The Great Depression had left millions unemployed and desperate, creating a perfect storm for Hitler's rise. He promised to restore Germany's former glory, rebuild the economy, and provide jobs for the masses. Hitler's ideology of racial purity and German expansionism resonated with many Germans who felt humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles. The treaty had imposed harsh reparations and territorial losses on Germany, fostering a sense of national resentment. Hitler's propaganda machine advocating for expansionism and a more assertive foreign policy. The military leaders capitalized on Japan's economic struggles and the perceived threat from Western powers to justify their aggressive stance. They sought to expand Japan's territory and secure resources to fuel the nation's growth. These totalitarian regimes shared a number of characteristics, including a cult of personality around a charismatic leader, suppression of dissent, control of the media, and the use of propaganda to promote their ideology. They created an environment where questioning the leader or the state was not tolerated and any opposition was swiftly crushed. They rejected democracy, individual rights, and the rule of law. Instead, they promoted a vision of a unified, powerful state under the absolute control of a single party and leader. This rejection of democratic principles and individual freedoms had profound and devastating consequences for the people living under these regimes. In the 1930s, Hitler's Germany began to aggressively challenge the Treaty of Versailles. Germany reoccupied the Rhineland in 1936, annexed Austria in 1938, and demanded the Sudetenland region of Czechoslovakia. The Allied powers, led by Britain and France, adopted a policy of appeasement towards Hitler, hoping to avoid another war. However, Hitler's ambitions were not satisfied. In September 1939, Germany invaded Poland, marking the beginning of World War II. Britain and France declared war on Germany, but their response was initially hesitant. The failure of appeasement is considered one of the major blunders of the interwar period. It emboldened Hitler and allowed him to consolidate his power without facing serious opposition. The invasion of Poland shattered the fragile peace that had existed in Europe. The early years of World War II were marked by a series of stunning German victories. The world watched in shock as the German war machine, under the command of Adolf Hitler, unleashed a new form of warfare that would change the face of combat forever. Germany conquered Poland in a matter of weeks, using a new military tactic known as blitzkrieg, which combined rapid armored advances with close air support. This lightning war strategy overwhelmed Polish defenses and set the stage for further German conquests. In 1940, Germany conquered Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France in rapid succession. The speed and efficiency of these campaigns left the world stunned and demonstrated the effectiveness of the blitzkrieg tactic. France, a major European power, fell in just 6 weeks, leading to the establishment of the Vichy regime. In June 1941, Germany broke its non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union and launched a massive invasion of the Soviet Union, codenamed Operation Barbarossa. This marked the beginning of one of the largest and deadliest military campaigns in history. The invasion of the Soviet Union proved to be a costly mistake for Hitler, bogging down the German army in a protracted and brutal conflict. The harsh Russian winter and fierce Soviet resistance took a heavy toll on German forces, leading to significant losses and a turning point in the war. In December 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, bringing the United States into the war. The attack aimed to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet and secure Japanese dominance in the Pacific, but it had the opposite effect, galvanizing American resolve. The United States joined the Allied powers, which included Great Britain, the Soviet Union, and China, in the fight against the Axis powers of Germany, Japan, and Italy. This marked a significant shift in the balance of power, as American industrial and military might began to turn the tide of the war. The tide of the war began to turn in favor of the Allies in 1942. Key victories in both the European and Pacific theaters marked the beginning of a sustained Allied offensive that would eventually lead to the defeat of the Axis powers. In the Pacific, the United States won key victories at the Battle of Midway and the Battle of Guadalcanal. These battles were crucial in halting Japanese expansion and began the long and arduous process of pushing Japanese forces back across the Pacific. In Europe, the Soviet Union halted the German advance at the Battle of Stalingrad. This brutal and grueling battle marked a significant turning point on the Eastern Front, with the Soviet forces eventually encircling and defeating the German Sixth Army. On June 6, 1944, the Allied forces launched a massive amphibious assault on Normandy, France, known as D-Day. This operation, one of the largest in history, involved meticulous planning and coordination, and its success paved the way for the liberation of Western Europe. The D-Day invasion was successful, and the Allies were able to liberate France and eventually push into Germany. The relentless advance of Allied forces from the west, combined with Soviet advances from the east, squeezed the German military and hastened the end of the war in Europe. In the Pacific, the United States continued to island hop towards Japan. This strategy involved capturing key islands and using them as bases for further operations, gradually tightening the noose around Japan and cutting off its supply lines. On August 6, 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. The unprecedented destruction and loss of life caused by the bomb shocked the world and demonstrated the devastating power of nuclear weapons. 3 days later, a second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. The combined impact of these bombings forced Japan to reconsider its position and ultimately led to its surrender. On August 15, 1945, Japan announced its surrender, effectively ending World War II. The war had reshaped the world, leading to significant geopolitical changes and setting the stage for the Cold War. The sacrifices and heroism of those who fought will always be remembered.